Hello folks, welcome back. It's May 7th, 2021. This is the first video of 2021. We just came out of the really cold spell that most of this country had. The snow and ice melted within the last week. Temperatures are starting to come up. Today is mid 40s. As you can see, it's sunny out. A few of the bees are doing some cleansing flights, but for the most part they're still pretty clustered up, pretty tight. It's warm enough that they can move around the hive and get to some of their food. I did go through the hives about a week ago, popped the tops, didn't dig into them, but just popped them open, take a quick look, see how they were doing, which ones survived, which ones didn't. Added feeders to a couple of them that were a little light on stores. As you know, if you've watched my videos, I'll show you the mistakes, I'll show you the things that go wrong, and I'll show you the good stuff. So I'm going to pop a couple of these open, just briefly look at them, quick film. I did have 3 deadouts this winter. All 3 were nukes. 1 flat out ran out of food. 2 of them had queen failures. And people ask, how do you know there was a queen failure? Well, as you're going through them this time of year and you're opening them up and you're looking, very low population of bees that died, and you will find late season supersedure cells. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. There was a queen problem of some sort, whether the queen died or the queen wasn't mated properly. There was some sort of queen failure at the end of the year. They tried to create a queen too late in the year, because these are typically happening in like October, November. The queens can't get out on mating flights. Even if they did, they wouldn't get mated. If they did go out, they wouldn't make it back. So yeah, those are queen failures. So if you don't catch them, which I didn't, if you don't catch them, the population dwindles until there's nothing left. So yeah, I did have 3 nukes that didn't make it. Overall, most of them are looking really good. I've got one I'm kind of keeping an eye on, but overall they look really good this year. So I'm going to peek in on a couple of them here and show you. I will show some still photos of the one that ran out of food, just so you can kind of see what it looked like. They were all clustered up. As I went through the 5 frames, there wasn't a speck of food left. I take complete responsibility for that one. There's my girl. And so yeah, let's pop a couple of these open and just take a quick look. I'm not going to dig into them, just see how they're doing. Okay, I'm just going to peek under the lid on this one. I did look at it the other day. They still had quite a bit of food stores. See that the cluster's primarily right there. There were still a lot of bees down towards the lower part of the box when I was in it the other day. I did pop the top box apart the other day, and you know, there was some of the clusters in the bottom box directly below this, and then you got this cluster up here, and it's bees from about here all the way to the front. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4 full seams of bees. I can see all the way to the front. There's bees in these 2 seams, and like I said the other day when I was in it, there was bees going all the way down into the bottom box directly below this. Now I did shuffle a couple frames around to move some honey over a little bit closer, but they were still in pretty good shape. So this one I did not add a feeder to. Not a monster hive, Carniolan queen, but they look nice and healthy. So like I said, I'm not going to go digging into them. As you can see on some of these, I use a, in the wintertime, use a piece of plastic here. That's about the only moisture you'll see is along these outside edges. I really don't have a bit of problem with moisture. The wooden boxes even get a 2-inch piece of styrofoam under the lid along with the plastic. It seems to work really good for me. If you're interested, give it a try on a couple hives over next winter. Piece of 6mm plastic, 2-inch piece of polystyrene, then put your lid on, strap it down real good. It keeps the heat from escaping out the top. So what happens, you got convection, the heat comes up, hits that, rolls off to the side. If there's any condensation, it's along the corners or the outside walls. The bees can still get to a little bit of moisture if they need it, but it doesn't condense over top of them. Let's take a look at the next one. This one, we've got some hive beetle issues in. I'm gonna have to address that. I like using the Swiffer sheets. So squish them real fast when you see them through the plastic. But I'll get some Swiffer sheets in here next time I'm in this one. Here's another example of 2-inch polystyrene, 6mm plastic. See, there's a little bit of moisture right here. They don't have a moisture problem. You got enough bees, it keeps everything nice and circulated. Peel it back nice and easy. Now this one here, I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 seams of bees. Very healthy bees, healthy hive. I did check the outer frames. They still had about 4 frames of honey that they're working on. Might have to put a feeder on this one if things don't warm up here fairly quick. We're still probably 2 weeks or more out before the very first nectar and pollen, which will be the silver and red maples. I'm thinking at least 2 weeks out. So I might have to put a feeder on this one. They still got some honey, but they're going through it at a pretty rapid pace. Now that things are starting to warm up, they're starting to get a little active. Nice hive of carniolans here. This one is a little smaller cluster, but as soon as we start getting some natural pollen and some nectar in here, I think they're going to explode. I will start putting pollen sub on these guys probably next weekend, so in about 7 days. That'll start helping them a little bit. There is some pollen stores in these hives from last fall. I think a little bit of pollen sub will go a long way. Like I said, this is a smaller one. They've only got probably 3.5 seams of bees. They seem healthy. I haven't seen any problems with them. They just, smaller cluster going through winter. Still got plenty of honey stores. The queens are starting to lay. They're just starting. In the last probably 10 to 14 days here in southern Ohio. I've seen just a little bit of capped brood on some of the frames I was peeking in the other day. A little bit of capped brood. A lot of eggs though. Let's take just a little peek in the top of this one. This one still had plenty of honey stores. When I was in it last week, they had started moving up into the top box though. So let's see what we got. See couple little hive beetles there. A little bit of moisture here, like I've been saying, a little bit along the edge. That actually allows them to get to some moisture in the wintertime when they can't get out of the box. So let's see what we got here. Try to be nice and easy so not to spook the bees so they come roaring up. So this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably 5 or 6 seams, probably 6 seams of bees. There's some partial bees over in here. Most of the cluster are right up through this center section, up through here. Now you notice they're not running up there over my hands. Nice calm carniolans. This is one of the queens that I raised last year. So looking good. They still got some honey stores up in the top box. I'll probably reverse these boxes in about a week, add a pollen patty, because I want them to move back up into this deep box when she starts laying up real hard. So I'll swap them for about a month or so, a month, 6 weeks. Once she starts laying real heavy into the deep box, then I'll put the super back on top. As you can see, like I said, nice calm bees. No additional insulation needed on these polystyrene boxes. I will be doing a follow-up on these polystyrene boxes probably in April. So that'll give me basically a full year of using these, and good, bad, indifferent type things, but I will follow up with them, so make sure you look for that. Another little 5-frame box I put a feeder on. Oh yeah, and they're up in there. As you can see, plenty of bees. I'll come back up here. This feeder's almost empty. I'll come up here and wipe that feeder out. Put another quart of 1-to-1 in it. They really don't need anything concentrated right now. Just 1-to-1 works pretty good. Kind of mimics a little bit of a nectar flow coming in. Here's one of my little 5-frame overwintered nukes. I put a feeder on it just the other day. Little hive top feeder here. If you can see down in that vent there's plenty of bees. We'll take a peek here. Oh yeah. So, little 5-frame nukes do pretty good as long as they got plenty of food and a decent population going into winter. Let's take a look into this one. This is a swarm I caught. I had a stack of used frames and boxes in the barn, and I kind of noticed a few bees coming and going. I just figured they were cleaning up the frames a little bit. A few days later, pretty good sized swarm settled in. So I moved them out here and let them build up. They did pretty good, but not as good as I thought they should. So I'll probably end up replacing this queen with one of my own queens this spring. They were running pretty shy on stores. I put a entry feeder on them. This hive's not near my other one, so I didn't mind putting an entry feeder in. I wouldn't do this around a bunch of hives put together because you will end up with some robbing. This one by itself, it didn't really create any problems. Looks like they've sucked a quart down within the last few days. I'll put another quart in here in just a few minutes. Let's just take a quick peek and see what these guys are doing here. As you can see, there's a good population there at the feeder hole there. Now these aren't quite as calm as my carniolans, so a little bit of smoke. I don't like the fact that they're not quite as calm either. That one came out and hit my thumb. Didn't sting me, but came out and hit that thumb pretty hard. Nice cluster of bees. She had a good winter nest. But like I said, I really wasn't overly impressed with how they did last year. They had 10 frames of drawn comb, and they took off really good initially. And boy, then they seemed to falter. I put a honey super on them just to try to get them to draw out some wax, and they only drew out probably 3 or 4 frames of wax on it, so I wasn't overly impressed with how they did overall. So I don't know, like I said, I might pull this queen, put her in maybe a nuke box, and just use her as a brood factory, just to pull some frames of young off of, to help pump up some of the production hives. Probably, like I said, once I start grafting this spring, chances are I'll put my own queen in this hive. Like I said, they did go through with a good winter cluster. So that was just kind of a quick preview. Didn't get into all of them, just kind of took a quick peek in them. I was in all of them last week, pulled the top, popped a couple frames on a few of them. Most of them I just reached in with my hive tool to see where there was honey stores at. I had to put feeders on a few of them. They were just burning through a little bit too much. And most of them still had plenty of honey stores. I do know that there's some pollen stores in there. This is the time of year when hives starve. There is nothing blooming yet. We're not going to have maple for probably 2 weeks. Our sunny days are still in the mid 40s. It's not enough for these things to really progress. Couple weeks, these will start popping open. We'll have both silver maple and red maple cracking open. There's a good pollen flow, some good nectar source, but until then, these hives, it's warm enough they're starting to get a little active. They're going through their stores at a rapid pace. The queens are laying. They're starting to go through their pollen stores. They're going to starve if you're not careful. Stay on top of them this time of year. We get into a cold, rainy spell. Doesn't matter if these bloom or not. If it starts raining and turns off cold, the bees are stuck in the boxes. They're going to starve if they don't have a tremendous amount of food buildup. Stay on top of them. If they need feed, drop a feeder on them. You know, I'm going to start pollen patties here in about a week. That'll probably help boost them just a little bit before the natural pollen comes in. Nothing is better than natural pollen. Again, if we get into a lot of rainy weather and they can't get out, they're going to need that pollen sub or pollen substitute to help build those brood nests. Otherwise, they're going to shut down. They're going to start cannibalizing it if they run out of pollen that they already have stored. So make sure they got plenty of food. Drop a feeder on them if they need it. If they need a little bit of pollen sub, you can put a pollen feeder out in the open for the nice days. Best bet, put a quarter, half pound of pollen sub right on top of the frames. You know, don't be afraid of a few hive beetles. They're going to keep them under control. If you do have hive beetles like you saw in one of the hives up there, I'm going to take Swiffer sheets. Take Swiffer sheets, cut them into 1 to 2 inch wide strips, rough them up a little bit, put them along the frames. The hive beetles get stuck in them. Very rarely do I lose a bee. So I'm getting ready to go through. When I put pollen sub in, I'll put those in at the same time. So watch your bees. We got a lot of videos planned for the spring. We're going to start showing a lot of different things. I will be doing a complete review on the polystyrene hives. Probably do that one in April. That will give me exactly 12 months of full use. So stay tuned. And I got a lot of good content coming. If you have any questions, you know, send me an email or post it below. Sure appreciate it if you would subscribe and share these videos. most of these videos are geared towards the newer beekeeper, trying to help them out. And I'll see you next time.